I've decided something after today. I have decided that Suzuki are good at making bikes. They've always made good bikes. But what they're better at is days out. If Heineken was in charge of days out on a motorbike, they would outsource it to Suzuki. Because Suzuki are brilliant at it. So you start the day with a great road ride. 100 or so miles on stunning flowing roads on bikes that make road riding fun. They're not frenetic, they're not frantic, they're not angry bikes. Just good, solid road bikes that are enjoyable to cruise around on a nice road. I'm talking about the Hayabusa we tested a few weeks back and this new GSX-S1000. They then back that up with an afternoon somewhere where you can explore the full performance of the bike. So for the Hayabusa, obviously that was a massive runway where we could go flat out and just be idiots for hours. With this GSX-S, we've been here at Harewood Hill Climb. An interesting choice because it's no nimble, lightweight, flicky, flacky, twitchy little bike. It's a big, solid road bike. So to come to a hill climb like this, where it's tight and technical and stop-start, seemed like a weird choice for that, but in all honesty, it's proven itself here. Nope, it hasn't set the fastest time the hill climb has ever seen. What it has done is shown that aside from the sensible road bike that it does a good job of being, there is a wild side. There is a skids and wheelies, hooligan side to the GSX-S that really every bike kind of needs to make it exciting. It's not new news. 5 years, 6 years now that bike's been out. Suzuki decided it was time for a mild update. It's not a revolution, it's not a redesign from the ground up. It's tweaking, polishing, a little bit of restyling, a little bit of refining the bits that people have complained about to try and make it a better all-round road sports bike package. Styling is the most obvious part of this. It's striking, isn't it? I wouldn't say it's pretty, but I wouldn't say I don't like it either. It's quite complicated styling, and the more you stare at it, the more you see bits of Katana, bits of, I don't know, bits of Yamaha MT-10 almost. I'll leave you to make your own mind up about that. I kind of like it. It's in a pointy way. I find it funny that they've put little mock winglets on it. It's like they've had to join the status quo on that one, but styling, it has it. Yes, it has styling, that's for sure. Other changes around the bike. First thing I noticed, and I have to put my hands up, I didn't get off the old bike yesterday and jump on this one, so the subtle changes are going to take more learning than that. But what I did feel straight away is wider bars, higher bars, comfier seat. And for a road bike, that's always a good thing. I rode for 100 miles on it on the road today. Fairness, we didn't do boring straight motorway, we did lots of twisty roads, but I never found myself shifting around to get comfortable, even when we were cruising in sort of steady 40-mile-an-hour traffic. So for me, a big tick for a comfortable road sports bike. The other big change they've made is throttle response and putting riding modes on the bike. The old bike did get a bit of criticism for being a bit twitchy on the throttle. To fix that, got ride-by-wire, Suzuki's advanced ride-by-wire throttle system, along with 3 rider modes, A, B and C. And I think they've called them A, B and C and then tried to justify that calling active, basic and comfort mode. So in comfort mode, the bike's pretty soft, pretty mellow. The new clutch has got a self-servo slipper clutch, so a slip assist clutch. It was a bit grabby this morning. The bikes have done very little mileage and it definitely got better throughout the day, so we'll maybe let it off on that, but it definitely was a little grabby to start with. But the C mode throttle response was nice and smooth, very muted, and on slippery roads, when you're just getting your head around a bike, it was quite welcome. I went from C mode straight to A mode to get the contrast. A mode is, the bike's a different beast altogether. It's twitchy, it's snappy. It really is like that spaniel puppy that's sat there and it's so keen to run and get its ball, it's physically shaking, and every move anyone makes, it goes, rah, rah, rah. This is exactly what this thing feels like in A mode. It's on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. It's really exciting. It's bloody tiresome when you're sat in 50 mile an hour, you know, that A road cruisy traffic behind a lorry. It's tiresome then, but when you're not in that situation, when you're riding it for a bit of fun, it's peppy and exciting. Interestingly, I actually ended up going back to B mode on track because I found the throttle a bit more predictable when you're trying to feel for grip on the edge of the tyre. And that is B mode. B mode shouldn't be B for basic, it should be G for Goldilocks. Just enough power to be exciting, but not the kind of snappy on-off of the A mode. It's nice that bikes these days, God, I sound like a proper old git. It's nice that bikes these days actually have a difference between those modes. You don't just go from A, B, and C and barely notice a difference. It's 3 distinct feelings to the bike. What's it like on the road? Honestly, I found myself with muted enthusiasm for it on the road, I think it's fair to say. I was definitely coming into this test with thoughts of Super Dukes and Speed Triple RSs and Ducati V4 Street Fighters. This is a 1000cc naked supersport bike. That's the class it falls into on its specs on paper. So compared to that company, it feels a bit old school. It's solid, it's a little slow steering, a little heavy steering. It's not a wildly powerful thing. It's got lots of go down low, and then it's calm in the middle, and then it screams again up top. But it's not a bike that sort of sets your world alight when you first get on it. And then it dawned on me. This bike, despite being a GSX-R derived 1000cc naked sports bike, it's 11 grand. At £11,000, it's 2/3 the price of everything else in that 1000cc super naked class. You know, all the Triumphs, your Ducati, all the exotic stuff, way more pricey than this. And so when you actually quantify it with that price, the GSX-S is brilliant value. And what you get for your money is a big, simple, fun bike. And that's what it is. It's simple. It is, if someone farted, that would start giggling. That's how simple it is. It's basic, fun, 1000cc bike. I've got a lot of time for that. Now, Suzuki get picked on mercilessly for how long it takes them to update their bikes. You know, we did the Hayabusa recently, and it's not a revolution in Hayabusas, it's a development of the one that's been around for a million years. Yeah, maybe it would be nice, and I mean, maybe we'd all like to see a cutting-edge 2021 completely redesigned Hayabusa, but the reality is, that's not Suzuki, that's never been Suzuki for at least 20 years. They just build good-priced, solid bikes that are a whole load of fun. And if you stop worrying about the horsepower figures, if you stop panicking about the fashion and the latest fandangos, they're great fun bikes. And when you can pay thousands of pounds less to have that compared to its competitors, it doesn't actually matter that it's not quite the cutting edge thing. No, there's nothing massively wrong with it. I got a little bit annoyed with the brakes on track. The ABS kicked in a few times before I wanted it to. It never stopped me making the corner, but just as I found with the ZX-10 on track the other week, this, when you're pushing the brake hard into a corner, particularly if it's bumpy and the rear's trying to lift, it kicks in and stops you braking any harder, and that's a bit frustrating. On the road, the ABS wasn't a problem. I personally would have liked a little bit more bite out of the brake. I definitely found that initial pickup of the brake was a bit mellow for my liking. Some people might prefer that. Some people might like the fact that the brake doesn't frighten them. I wanted it to stop. So I'd like a bit more bite out of the brakes, but we've seen recently, we've been working a lot with EBC, and we've seen that actually just changing the pads in a bike can be the difference between the brake feeling a bit muted and having that real nice, sharp, positive lever feel. So if I bought one, I'd sling a set of pads in straight away. Other criticisms of the GSX-S, it's not exotic. If you're someone who wants to look in your bike in your garage and polish it and love it and feel special every time you get on it, it's not going to do that for you. Sit it next to those more exotic versions of bikes in this class, and it does look a bit ordinary. So this morning's road ride was certainly not a road ride that set my world alight. It was a really calm, mellow, enjoyable road ride. Bottom end of the engine, purring along, just enjoying a comfy, good road riding experience. Then we came to the hill climb track. 100% any bike would be fun here. You could give me that blade of grass to ride round on and I would be the happiest man on earth. That's the secret trick of racetracks. They make you happy. Of course I had a great time on the GSX-S on track. But what's important to note is that the bike that on the road I said felt kind of slow steering, a little heavy in the steering, very stable, very planted, very solid. I was worried that on track that would turn into something that was a pain to get into an apex, was being forced and dragged around the circuit. And actually it wasn't. You've got to put in a fair amount of force to get the thing to turn, but it responds pretty well. Sure, in the tight left-right turns, it takes a bit of time to settle, but it came to a racetrack, it put up a damn good show, and I had a whale of a time. At no point was I wanting to park it up in the paddock and find something else to ride. So when you're faced with the prospect of buying a 15, 16, 17,000 pound super naked bike, or buying that for 11 grand and having 5 grand or so in your hand to go and waste on eBay, suddenly that's quite an exciting prospect. You can buy a lot of crap, knackered motorbikes for 5 grand and I should know. I've bought most of them.